So what is the current state of Granblue Fantasy versus Rising? Well, in the most simple of statements, it's not cooked, okay? It's actually doing pretty good. There's other big games, but from an FGC perspective, the game's in a pretty good spot. The new season does have people a bit divided on the direction of the game, like there not being any more changes to 6XL, but all in all, it did drive new players towards the game, and people are genuinely enjoying it. Let's get a bit more specific though, because I feel like it's not as black and white as this game's doing good or it's just doing shit. Before Season 2 actually came out, everyone was under the impression that this was going to be the biggest balance shakeup the game has ever seen. A lot of us felt like the game needed to do that as well in order to bring in new people. Clearly though, that did not happen. In fact, this was one of the smallest patches in terms of specific character changes. Some of the top tiers got nerfed a bit, but all in all, there were no major changes besides the system changes. Now you get destroyed for DPing because they've become counter hits, and it's your turn if you block a Brave counter. While those are major changes, to most of the player base, this doesn't impact what they find fun about the game, which is obviously doing super cool shit on their character. Although I competitively like there not being that many major changes, I also feel the disappointment that comes with getting no real meta shakeup or super cool stuff added to your character. I think on the front of what we expected, Season 2 did fail. However, what really matters about Season 2 is that it's getting new people interested in playing the game. On that front, I think we've got a pretty decent success on our hands. The Steam charts are legit doubled from before the patch, from around 450 concurrent players to literally over 1,000 now. Will this number teeter down because of the Sandy and Season 2 hype dying down? Of course, yes. But I definitely believe we're going to keep a large number of those players now. A big part of that, I think, is that people are obviously hyped about DLC. Granblue revealed their DLC lineup for an entire year. So new players, seeing that there's a new season, seeing that DLC lineup, and wanting a piece of the action, they're gonna stay. There's also a divide though in how people view DLC reveals, as Granblue, of course, like we said, opted to reveal their entire season's worth of DLC rather than drip feed the hype of new releases. There's a give and take, but I think this worked in their favor, as imagine being a new player and seeing your favorite character or a super cool character guaranteed to come out in a few months. You're gonna want to get into the game right now and start learning it so you're not a bot when it comes out. I think it's a super consumer-friendly move and actually motivates new players to play long-term and actually stick with the game. It gives them something to hold on to. For players that are currently sticking with the game and currently playing, it's a bit of a 50-50, you either like it or you don't. Regardless though, we're likely to keep a good amount of the new people playing. To add to those numbers, I've seen people express on Reddit, Twitter, and in my comment section new interest in the game, which means this season was a straight-up success, because that's the most important metric, bringing in new people. For the game's balance, like 6XL and stuff, it's hard for me to slot that into the discussion of Granblue's current state, because most of the people that complain about it are either pretty high level or pretty low level, which is interesting, right? What I'm trying to say is that it's a heavily opinionated take on the game's mechanics, so it doesn't really slot into the game's overall health. You could argue it does, but let's be real, people aren't dropping this game at such a high degree over 6XL, just like they aren't dropping Street Fighter over throw loops. Some people are, but be so for real with me, every single game has one mechanic that you either hate, love, or just deal with, so don't make me start naming them. Heat from Tekken, Drive Meter, freaking Focus Mode from Monster Hunter. In terms of the game itself, it's not going to truly fizzle out as it's still in the esports cycle. This of course means that we have official consistent patches and updates from the devs, as well as official tournaments like Arc World Tour and stuff happening. Because of that, and it being a fairly popular fighting game, it's going to be in a solid spot until there's no more dev support and it's out of the esports cycle. I think people compare the game to other huge games and fighting games, but that's just not realistic, you know? In the fighting game scene, it's a current standout title, so we've got a pretty good thing going here. In terms of what happens after the game stops being supported, well, let's assume the game has 2 more good years left after this. So that would be 4 seasons and 4 years of consistent support and tournament showing. In that case, we'll see the release of some new big fighting game titles, and Granblue is going to fade in terms of player base. However, the community is still going to be there. This is the true test for any fighting game, and there's no doubt in my mind that Granblue is going to pass it once its time comes. That, of course, being the test of how does your game do after it's no longer being supported or in the limelight. I do know Cygames cares and is putting good money into this game, but there will of course come a point where the game's time is up. People are passionate about this game, man, and online tournaments are still going to be running, but we'll probably have a lot less people sweating the game competitively, since there's just not going to be many major tournament appearances. That will definitely hurt, but people will stay to play just because they love the game. So as long as people can accept that the esports and dev support cycle is gone, the game will still be at a serviceably alive level. Better than DNF Duel anyway. RIP Dragon Knight, bruh. For now though, we are in our golden age, but we can't really expect this game to blow up. There is though one reality where I can see it happening. If you've tuned into Rainbow Six, you probably know of a content creator called Jinxie. The TLDR is he alone lifted up the content scene and revived the game from certain death in terms of video game shooter popularity. He alone made the game mainstream again. I believe this is the only real way Granblue can become a massive game from this point. If some enormous streamer decided to stream the game consistently, because we already have Lily Pichu playing it sometimes, or a shining star came up from the creators that we already have, then yeah, I think the game can blow up, because it's a damn good game. So we'll see, you know, the chances are small. It's more realistic that we'll be around this popularity and have a slight downward trend until new seasons and DLCs, which is actually a pretty healthy life cycle for a fighting game and for Granblue Rising. So yeah, the game's doing good, dude. There's potential for more, but let's appreciate what we've got, because we're in a pretty amazing time, especially if you compare it to the dark ages of no rollback that the original Granblue versus got put in purgatory for. Let me know though how you guys feel about the current state of Granblue in the comments, and yeah, I hope you're enjoying season 2.